it's like it drops. I just fixed it after buying a new one. Hey campers, George here with Mary, looking at a fishing reel. Yeah, ice fishing. Had a lot of people ask me about ice fishing. I'm no expert, but here's what I did learn. Let's check it out. So the weather has cooled down in a hurry. Right now, it's about 8 degrees outside. And that means winter, right? And you hear me talk about ice fishing. If you haven't seen any of the videos, I'll put a link below to anything I talk about if I've made a video about it. This is an ice fishing reel, not your regular reel. One of the reasons is you can reel them in anytime you want and just reel about anything, any size you want with these reels. When you're on the ice, you got to remember of nowhere on a lake. You drill a hole and you just drop your line straight down. That's how this works. On this one, you press the button and now it's free reeling. So you press the button and your bait drops down. You have your fish finder, you can see it dropping down. When you get to the right height, stop it, and now it's a regular reel. And you can adjust all the stuff on a regular, like the drag and things like that. You get a bite, you bring it up, do what you do, press a button, and down goes your bait again. That's what it's designed for, basically straight down fishing. So that's what this is all about, ice fishing. They're not cheap, I'll tell you that much. I got this one about 5 years ago. I can't even remember. It's a CGI. Who that is, I don't know. But it came with my 13 fishing tickle stick. Great little rod. And I'll show you all this stuff now. I'm just giving you a heads up on what's going on. And I was checking all my stuff. And this wasn't working. It wouldn't release. It started last season where I would release it and it would start and stop. And I had to spin it down there. There was something wrong with it. And I forgot about that. And then when I started getting all my stuff ready for ice fishing, and there's a lot of stuff you got to get ready, I remembered this. I had a gift voucher from work that I won at the Christmas party this year for Bass Pro. So I jumped in the truck, drove down there, and had a look-see because they had some sales going on ice fishing stuff. And they had another reel that I really liked. Kind of pricey, but I had a gift voucher. So that saved me. I got me a new reel. I came back, took all the line off and everything on this, put it on the new reel, and then took this apart and had a look, and there was line caught in between that had come off the reel and onto the shaft. Took that off, cleaned it all up, put it back together, and now it's working. But you know what? Now I've got a spare reel, but I've got a better reel. So what I want to do, and like I said, I'm no expert. Obviously, I'm not from a cold country. It was a learning experience for me, and I got it, to be honest, it took me a good 8 years to really figure out the whole ice fishing thing. In the Midwest and cold areas where everything ices over, if you're a fisherman, that's all the fishing you're going to do. So, how do you do it and what do you need? Let's have a look at what I've got, which is nowhere near stuff that people actually get. But before we get going, I'm going to show you the first thing everybody needs when you go ice fishing, and that is a place to fish in, typically known as a flip over or more commonly as a fish trap. I'm going to go get mine out of the shed. Okay, like I said, when you go ice fishing, you're out on the lake. It's basically flat water. There is no shelter from wind, and that's what gets you cold. Now, if it's a reasonably warm day, like maybe in the 20s to 30s, and the wind's not too bad, a lot of people will just walk out on the ice with a bucket, the ice fishing stuff, their fish finder, that sort of thing. Find a spot and just sit on the bucket and drill a hole, fish. And I've done that, and it's really nice and it's convenient because no fish. It's really easy to move somewhere else and look there. Whereas where you have something like this, it's a little different. Now this is the Clam Legend XT from 2023, I think I got it. It was actually the show one at Bass Pro, and I got a deal on it, so I was lucky. That's the only reason I could afford it. They're not cheap. Now the one I had before was the Clam, I'm gonna say Denali, something like that, which is the smaller version of this. The difference is on this one, when you're looking at the sled from the top, this is front and back. On the smaller one, it actually, when you flip it over, it's in front, so it's thinner, if you know what I mean. You're flipping long ways on it. On this one, what they did, they designed it so that you flip from the side, which gives you a wider area to fish in. There are disadvantages if you don't like setting up. These ones, you have to extend the poles on it and all that good stuff, but they're a lot taller. I'm no giant, but it's nice to be able to stand up and not have your hat touch the top, and have a lot more room around you when you're fishing, especially if you're using two holes. In the smaller ones, it gets a little tight in there. The small one I had, Travis, my friend Travis, you've seen me ice fish with him, gave it to me. It was one of the first he ever bought, and then he went bigger. He went to the more fancier ones. He can afford it, I can't. So I pulled it out. You saw me pull it out of the shed. Now walking in snow with these things and pulling them on foot is kind of tough. It really doesn't slide as easily as it does on bare ice. So I tend to find myself following where they've plowed and cars and trucks have been driving on there. There's less snow on the ground. They slip right along. It's like walking with nothing behind. You can barely feel it if you put the runners on the bottom. When you buy it, it comes bare bones, and you have to put it together. And you're going to need things like how you're going to pull it, that sort of stuff, and what you want inside, the extras like lights and things like that. Some of them come with them already. The wind's picking up and it's getting my neck. I'm going to pop this thing open for you. Typically when people talk about these things, they either refer to it as a fish trap or a flip over. I always knew it as a flip over, but fish trap is probably the more common name. To like when the first time I showed this, I actually did a whole setup and everything on it. There will be links below. So here you can see I took the cover off and just opened it out. I need to check it and make sure there's nothing crawling around in there, or if it's done any damage to the, you get rats and things like that. Be careful where you store these. They love them. You can see I have right here, I took the seat out of the way. That was inside there. Now I'm going to flip it over and get it set up. Oh, you're at an angle. There you have it set up now, and as you can see, I'll show you inside by what I mean about flipping it over from the side. The other one's flipped that way, so you had less width to it. This really increases the area that you have to fish. It's kind of hard to see in there. Took me a couple of minutes to set it up. The first couple of times you may struggle with it. If it's windy, it's even harder. And some advice here is you set up with your back to the wind. If the wind's blowing this way, make sure it's facing the way the wind is blowing. And you're going to need ice anchors, because if you get out of it and walk away, it'll move with the wind. It's fairly light, and that acts as like a wind sail. I've been in a situation where it blew away. I landed up chasing it down, and I bent one of my poles. I was lucky. I got it back, and I managed to straighten it, and it works just fine. But like I said, practice with it. If you've never used it before, practice setting it up. You don't want to be out there on the ice and fiddling around and trying to get it set up, and you lose a lot of fish time. Let me take you inside and you can sit with me. So here you can see the floor area. Now there's quite a lot. There's as wide as I can get my feet safely without slipping. And I got room for 2 holes, my heater and my fish finder. It really is a big improvement for me on my last one. I'm sitting on a pretty good chair here. You can see this, it's nice and padded. It's very comfortable. You sit the whole time. I'm lucky. My best friend Travis is a big ice fisherman. I don't know where I would have been without him, because I would have made some really bad mistakes. And he gave me some tips and stuff, and he said, get a decent seat. And he showed me some other stuff. Everything I learned from Travis. He's very safe. He knows what he's doing. Whenever I go out with him, I feel pretty comfortable. So I do go out on my own. Fortunately for me, I don't work. I work part-time, so I can go out during the week. And Travis can't come with me because, why? He has to work. So when I go out on the ice, I remember what Travis told me. I make sure I'm doing it right. So this is my fish trap. And you can see there is room behind you to put things. You know, your pack where you have your food or whatever, things like that. You want a little basic shovel. This one, actually, I broke it. I was using it here to shovel snow, and it broke. So I threw it in here. It's nice and small. What do you need it for? Well, what you need to do is, if you look at the edge, it's folded out. It should be that way out, and it's like a little ledge. And what you're going to do is put snow on that, and it stops wind blowing underneath it. So it just makes it a little bit warmer. Obviously, you will have a heater. You'll see all that stuff. I'll show you. I just wanted to go through this very quickly with you to see this is what you need. Otherwise, you're not going to make it on the ice on some days. And we've been out when it's been below 0, and we've been fine in here. In fact, once we get the heater going in these things, you can take your jacket off and sit here in a t-shirt, and you'd be fine. Obviously, going outside, you want to get dressed again. But it gets really warm to the point where you're turning the heater down to low. It really is warm. This is a thermal one. The material is thermal rated. Not all of them are. So this one holds the heat a lot better. Keeps you nice and warm. It does have a window on the back here, a door for me to go out the back. Gives you easy access to the back of the here where you put stuff, so you can put things in there without having to step over in front of you. Because remember, you're going to have 2 holes that you're fishing. You've got all your equipment there. You don't want to have to be walking around that stuff. You can just go around and zip this down and put everything in there. Very convenient. One of the best buys I made. Thank you. I did this first because it's about to get really cold and windy, so I need to put it down. When I put it in the back of the truck, it'll be there for the whole of winter. My truck is a small light truck. Icy roads, you need some weight in the back, and this is my anchor. And it's always there. So we'll go back inside and we'll have a look at some of the other stuff you need to get out on the ice. And there was a quick look at my flip over or fish trap. Fish trap is probably the most common name, and people do all sorts of things with those, and they even have a show that people will come and show what they did to their fish trap. and they call it Trick Your Trap. Pretty cool. And some of the stuff they come up with, you won't believe. They sleep overnight in these things. Not my one. Well, you could do it in my one. It'd be a little tight and wouldn't be easy to do. But some of the bigger ones, like the 2-man and the pop-ups that are really big, and I'll give you pictures as we go. They set it up like a bedroom. They have sleeping, cooking, and everything in a fishing place, all in one thing. It's a thing here. And that's what ice fishing's all about. It's something you do in winter because why? There's nothing else to do. Nobody wants to be out trudging around outdoors in winter. It's too cold. But you can go fish. It takes something to get out there and do it, but you can. So you saw my trap. Now I'm going to just show you what I have, what I actually fish with, and what you need to take with you in the trap so that you don't freeze to death, and little things you need when you're in the trap to fish. Okay, so now we have a place to fish that's going to keep us reasonably warm where we're not going to freeze to death. Well, you actually need fishing stuff, like a fishing rod, bait, and all that sort of stuff. Well, that's a whole nother story. You're limited where you're fishing. Your ice trap is pretty small. Even if you have a fancy ice fishing trailer, you still can't use a regular rod. You probably could, but you'll be sitting too far away from the hole. And how do they get around that? Let me show you. So first off, if you have more than one rod or a bunch of stuff, you need something to carry it in, so you got to have a rod case. You don't necessarily need one. You can just put it on top of your ice trap when you go out there and sit it on top there and bring it out with you. I like to pack mine in a bag, and then when I've got everything out and I'm set up, I can just close the bag and put it in the back behind my seat in the ice trap. This is just a very basic, it's called a polo fire, and in the bag you have your fishing stuff. 2 ways to fish. You can dead stick, 3 ways, sorry. You can dead stick, you can actually fish with the rod, and you can have a thing like this. And basically what this is something where you can go outside of your fish trap, drill a hole outside, a little bit further away, maybe deeper away, and drill a hole and set this up so that it just sits there. It's basically this, and you can see you have this thing here, and you can drop a line down. You'd put like a minnow or something on there just to swim around, and hopefully some big old pike or something like that, or walleye, will come along and snag your minnow. Well, what happens is when you do that, it will trigger this when it takes the bait, and this pops up. I've still got to go through and get everything working here, but as you can see, this flag will pop up like that when the fish takes the bait. You can see a little flag on it, and it's camouflage. Doesn't matter because everything's white out there, and it tells you you have a fish on. So you can run out there and you actually pull it in by hand, and the line is a little different. It's not your regular fishing line. It's kind of thick like this because some of the fish you catch are very big. So that's one thing, one way of fishing. And the dead sticking would be you would have a bigger, heavier rod in the trap with you, or right there with you, and you literally drop the bait and just leave it there. You're not jigging or anything like that. You put a minnow on it and it'll float around. Obviously, something takes the minnow, you can just grab it and bring it in, just like regular fishing. And then you have where you bring them in. With these, you jig it to attract your fish to your bait. And you'll see what I mean about giant rods. like I said, there's a couple of ways that you set up to catch the fish. You use your tip up. When you're inside your fish trap, you need a rod that's going to fit in there. You can't use a regular rod, it's just too long. So their solution is this guy. You see that? That's it. 1, 2, about 3 foot long. Yeah, tiny, right? It's all you need because your ice hole is right in front of you and you're sitting there and you're jigging away to catch the fish. You don't need a long rod. You just need a rod that's going to bring in the fish, and these do. And you'll be shocked and horrified at how strong these are when you think of how small they are. And you can see it's not much. This is a fairly lightweight one. This is probably a medium. This is my favorite rod. You'll see me use this all the time to jig. It's called a tickle stick, and it's made by 13 Fishing, and it's very sensitive. If you look at the end here, I'm just going to bounce it with the bait on there. Look at that. See how sensitive that is? And it can bend. It's tough. There is my jig. And on this, I would put a mealworm or something like that, a little red worm, a mealworm, small stuff. You can even put plastics on it, and they have plastics that basically imitate small stuff out there that will attract them in winter. So you would drop this down, like I showed you. This is my new reel. Very proud of this one that I just got, and it is a 13 Fishing reel. This is the aluminum one, and it's called the Ghost. The big difference between this, if you saw the other reel, I had to press a button on the side here to release it. This one, I have a one-handed go at it. Got a lever, and I'm going to press the lever, and you'll see how quickly it releases my jig here to go down to the bottom to the height I want it. Just press it, and you can see I've got to adjust the setting on it. It just drops off, and I can stop at the height that I want. If I go too low, I just bring it back up as soon as I release the button. And it acts like a normal reel with drag and everything like that. Very nice, very excited about this one. It's more than I could afford without the gift card that I got. But I could with it, so I got it while I can. Get it while the going's hot, right? You can adjust the speed it drops. There's all sorts and then your drag to pull it in and that. This is a lightweight rod. Surprisingly, will bring in a pretty big sized fish, even though it's so weak, and you saw how flexible it is. What limits you is the line you put on it. If you have a really big fish that this is not going to handle, well, it'll break the line before you get it in. So there's that. So this is my jigging rod. The other one that you need, if you want, it's called dead sticking. It's basically a heavier version of the 13. This is just one that I bought at Gander Mountain. It's like it has a regular reel. You see that? It's just like your regular fishing reel, and you would dead stick with it. Dead sticking being you have 2 holes in the house with you, and you can see I have a spoon on here. Now what you can do is you can put a minnow on here and just drop it down the hole next to you and have the rod sit there until something comes along and eats it, right? Because the minnow is going to be live and swimming around. And it's kind of like fishing for catfish. You cast out there and leave your bait and wait for the catfish to come to it. A lot thicker, a lot heavier line. I can bring in a much bigger fish with this. What you're looking at, you're looking at having a tip up, a dead stick, and your jigging rod. It is a fun way to catch fish on such a little thing. And of course you have your different baits and lures, and I have a box here. They're typically for the The jigging are smaller. You see I got some spoons in that here. They're not very big, and then I've got my little jigs. All different kinds. Change according to the year. They get you every year with the newer, better, faster, sharper ones. There you go. Basic look at what sort of fishing rods you need. Now, it's very basic, and the choices out there, thousands. How much do you want to spend? Where you're going to fish, how deep you're going to fish, where you typically go, yada, yada, yada. That's what you need to actually catch the fish. So if you know your lake, you can walk out and know roughly where to go, but then you want to actually see if there's fish down there. Well, how do you do that? Because they're 25 foot down and you've got a hole this big to look through that's this thick in ice. Well, we have fish finders for ice fishing. Yep, let's have a look at that. So when it comes to fish finders, in ice fishing, they're a little different. They are, especially the traditional fish finder, ice fishing finder. It is not your normal fish finder like you would use on a boat or anything like that. It just looks straight down, okay? And it's like a cone that it looks down on. And it'll tell you things like there's a fish there, give you a rough idea of how big it is. It'll tell you how far away from your bait it is and how deep it is. And it'll also show you the top and bottom of the water. So looking at all that, when you first look at one, if you've never looked at an ice fishing fish finder, you're like, Lordy, what is that? So the one I have, which is probably the most well-known maker out there of the traditional fish finder, ice fishing finder. This one I have, it's called a Vexlar. That's the company. Very well known, very popular. There are others, a lot of others out there. Probably the most recognizable one. They all look and work the same way. It's just different manufacturers and how good their technology is. The main thing that people look for on these ones, the bait is from the fish. So you've got your bait bopping around there and your fish comes along. These things can get as accurate as within a half to a quarter inch from your bait. So you can see the fish. You don't see the fish. You see a color coming closer to your bait that you are jigging. And it's the delay from seeing that is important. You want it as close to real time as possible because you're going to see them come together. The fish has gone for your bait. And you're going to see them come together and feel it on your rod, and that's when you go for it, okay? So it takes getting used to and practice because you'll do a lot of, missed it. You got to know the delay of what you're using in that. So the better the technology, the better chance you have. Ta-da! Vexlar, ice fishing, fish finder. Now, you can see it's got this big round thing there. It kind of looks like a sonar because that's what it really is. And the display it gives you here takes getting used to figure it out. Plus, you've got all these settings. This one is an FLX 30, which I think was the latest a year or two ago. I think they're up to like 38 now. And the technology has got a lot better, a lot more accurate, yada, yada, yada. This here is your transducer. This you drop down the hole you just drilled, and it sits below the ice and gives you that cone and looks at the base of the cone and inside the cone to tell you what's going on there. When you drop your bait down, you'll see it falling down, and I'll show you that, hopefully. You'll see it falling down, and if you want it a foot above the ground, because that's 25 feet, you'll be dropping it, you're watching it just at 25, stop it, and it sits there. And you can jig it, and you'll see your bait moving. If a fish comes along, it's a different color. The closer it gets to your bait, it changes color. Bumps it, you are now reeling in a fish, hopefully. So that's how the transducer works. It's actually a cone looking straight down versus when you go bass fishing, you're looking over a view sideways rather than down. You're looking from the top. I'm just going to switch it on so you can see the display here. Hopefully you can see. It's going to flash a bit because it's the timing on the video and this. But if you look at it, it's round. If you cut it in half like this and you look at this side versus that side, it's two sides. If I look here, it'll show you the top, where the bottom of the ice is on top, all the way to how deep it is, and it'll tell you those depths. And it does it by using lines going down. You see this line here? If I drop my bait down, you'll see a line like that run down here to tell you how deep you are. This half here, you can choose to look at just 15 feet from the ground, the bottom of the lake, to 15 feet above it. That area only. It's the kind of like zooming in to a specific area of the cone. And that's where your bait is. And if you move your bait, you'll have this here. You'll see your bait going back and forth, Okay. As a fish comes along, here's your bait going up and down because you're jigging it. You can see it when you jig. You'll see a fish come along, and as it gets closer and closer, it changes color. You can choose those colors, and then boom, it comes into contact with your bait. Brace yourself, it's about to eat it. So you're going to hook him. Very basic overview of it. There's a lot more of it. You can change your range, how deep you're going, what you want to look at, how much you want to look at on the zoom, different modes, different colors, adjusting the accuracy, the gain of it, because you will get interference if there's other people around you, especially if they have older models. They'll interfere and you'll get a lot of extras, and you can fine tune it to get a nice clear look at it. So like I said, you split it in two. This sees the whole. You're up here, that's the bottom. As you drop down, you'll see a line come down, a line just like that. Drop down to where you want it. It'll tell you you're at 25 feet, stop it, because that's where you know the fish are. And you will see other lines here. It'll tell you there's fish there. You have chosen how close to the bottom you want to look from the bottom up, or wherever you are, want to look at between 10 and 25 feet or 10 and 20 feet, and you will see everything in there is zoomed in, and you will see you can put your bait there and move it like I said. Any fish coming into it, you'll see right away. That's the basics of a fish finder. Ice fishing finder, the traditional style. Battery operated. You charge your battery. I've been charged it once and been fishing 3 days in a row for about 4 to 5 hours each day, and I was still good with the battery. So it does take a 9-volt battery. You can get different cases that mount it. This is a very basic one, and different kinds. You can also get a camera you can drop down there and have a look around. How much do you want to spend? Okay, this has a rod holder. I can put my rod in here if I want to. And a charger. How much do they cost? Start at about $350 and go up to thousands for those big fancy ones. So there you go. So there you go. We've got all these things. We've got fishing rods, fish trap to fish in, and we've got a fish finder. Right? Not so much. Important stuff coming up. You've got all that stuff. Now you've got the lake you're going to go to. You're fairly familiar with the lake, or people have told you, for example, the fish are at 20 feet. There's a lot of crappie, that sort of thing around, or they're right on the bottom and it's 25 feet. That's where they are. Okay. And you can get that information online. Go to the fishing people and that ice fishing people, or your local bait shop, that sort of thing. They have, well, are the fish there? Your fish finder will tell you. All you have to do is just walk out on the ice. I'm roughly where I want to be, drill a hole, and oh, yeah, drilling the hole. You got to remember, this is ice from anything from 4 inches, which I don't like to fish on unless so 4 to, typically down here you might be dealing with 20 inches max on the smaller lakes. Well, you have to drill that hole. What do you need? You need an ice auger. Basically, you've seen those things that you drill to make holes for fence posts. It's an auger. Same principle, except it's designed to cut through the ice. So you need one of those. You can do it by hand. Good luck. It's not easy. Or you can buy yourself a nice ice auger. I have one, and let me get it for you. The one I have is from Strike Master. It's a lithium battery 24 volt. And I got it it was on sale. I've had it for about 3 or 4 years. Works really well for me. It's the more newer version of doing it. People, you can get them where you just have the actual auger with an attachment that'll go on a regular drill, like a DeVault or something like that drill, and you can drill in with it. It has a special connector for it, so you can do it, or do it by hand or something like this. This is an all-in-one. It comes with the motor, the battery, and everything. It's pre-assembled, or not pre-assembled, but it's all one piece. And you can get different diameters of auger, depending where you are and what fish you're going for. It's no good having a hole this big when you're going for big fish, because you won't be able to get them out of the hole. This is a pretty standard one I have. You can see the auger potcher. It's a hard plastic with some blades at the bottom here. I have a cap on here just for safety. I'll take it off so you can have a look. And you can see there's blades on it to cut the ice. They're sharp and shiny. Just saying. To keep this cover on it. Protects your blades and everything. And you don't want to accidentally catch something with it or anything like that. Here's the controls on the top. I don't have the battery in. I'm charging it because that's what I'm doing. And you've got controls. It does have dead man switches on. This is your on-off. So, and you have a dead man switch. So when you're drilling in, if the thing gets out of control and you let it go, it will stop because you don't have that pushed in. And if without that being pushed in, you can't start it. So, or it'll just cut out. It's a safety thing. And this is from Strike Master. Basically a motor and an auger. You find the spot you want. You go for it. You drill into the ice. You get your hole in there. And you want to know if there's fish there, you can have your fish finder right there with it. Drop the transducer down and look at it, and you'll see the fish if they are there. And now you know you have fish. You can bring your fish trap over the hole, set it up, and drill another hole next to it. If you want a dead stick, set up your fish finder there. You got your fishing rod, and drop it in and start fishing, right? When it's 2 degrees, you're going to be chilly if you don't get dressed right and don't have a heater. You have everything. You're about to start fishing and you start fishing. And no matter how well you're dressed, you're going to get cold. Well, if you have the right stuff, you won't. But it's uncomfortable to work in, to fish in, because it's heavy insulated stuff. So how do you get around having to wear that while you're fishing? Well, if you're in your fish trap, you can use a heater, a Mr. Heater here. Pretty common, probably the most recognizable one out there. A lot of people have made them now. And this one is called the Buddy Heater. Here it is here. It is a propane heater, so it connects to a propane tank, or you can use just those little 1 pound tanks. You can put them in the side here, connect them directly to it. Then you can see there's a place right here you can connect a 1 pound propane tank to it, a small little bottle, and have a couple of bottles. You don't want to run out, especially when you're in the middle of a hot spot catching fish. You don't want to have to pack up and go home because it's too cold. I have a 5-pound tank, which is about that big. A lot of people will use 10-pounders. I found that 5 pounds in my little trap is more than enough. You hook this up to that, you connect it, you go through, read your instructions. It is very important you know how this is working. And before you go out, doesn't matter when, where, or what, you test this to make sure it works before you go out. Nothing worse than getting out on the ice and knowing you can only spend maybe an hour there and you have to come back because it's going to get too cold, too uncomfortable, whatever. This is more than big enough to heat my fish trap. In fact, once I have the temperature up in the fish trap, I'm running it on low. And it maintains the heat in there enough where I can take my jacket off and sit there even in a t-shirt. So, like I said, before you go out, every time you go out, before you head out, you test to make sure it's working. Because if it's not, you might as well not go unless you're fishing in temperatures from maybe, 15 degrees and up, where you can go out on the ice and be reasonably comfortable out of the wind in your fish trap. And you would sit this down in front of you or to the side. You've got your 2 holes here in front of you. You're sitting here. It's in there and it just heats up the house. A must-have if you want to be comfortable. So now we all set up and we're fishing, but how do we stay warm until that happens? Okay, that's it. Here we are. Ice jacket and bibs. These are designed to keep you warm, and they do. You pay for them though. And how much do you want to pay to be comfortable? You're looking at a couple of $100 for an outfit, which includes a jacket and bibs. Now, this is mine, and this is ice armor. I got the ice armor stuff. Travis uses it. He has the fancier one, but this works more than I need. It keeps me warm. I've never got cold in this jacket. It's not very thick or anything like that. It's just bulky. You have bibs. So, and they come with hundreds of pockets and all that good stuff. You've got a hood that'll come over. Same thing. You want a wool cap. Don't think you're going to get away with something like this. Because even when you put this over, you can overheat pretty quickly, especially if you're walking out. You're going to start to overheat. You can take this off and it reduces it, but you're still protected because it can be cold enough for frostbite. Now, when you fish and you're sitting with all this in it, you can see it's not really comfortable. So you want to you get your heater going, you can take it off and hang it up in your fish trap. You can get things that you can hang them on. And then clothes underneath, thermal underwear, good thermal underwear. A couple of years ago, my daughter bought me, it's called 40 Degrees, and it's very thin nylon thermal underwear. I put that on first, and then I use like this. This is thermal underwear. It's pretty thick, and it'll keep you warm. Then I have something like this, a hoodie that's fairly thick and comfortable, okay? So I'm layered. Now, when you put the heater on, you find that it's really warm in there. You take your jacket off, you're still warm. You turn it down to low, you're still warm. You can take this off and still be warm, okay, and be comfortable. So that's layering. It's kind of important. And the worst thing that can happen when you're fishing is to get your feet wet. You get your feet wet, you will never get them warm while you're out on the ice, okay? That happens, you might as well pack up and just go home. You want a good pair of waterproof boots, and you can get those. There's all different kinds. How much do you want to spend? And I have just regular outdoor boots that I use. They're waterproof. I have thick socks and I have liner socks, a thin pair of socks that I put in under the thick socks. Just makes it more comfortable to take in and out. And if you sweat, things like that, it'll stop that. By the way, here's the bibs, pretty big. You never take this off because you want to, this really keeps you warm. You can, another thing, if you can afford it, get the ones that have flotation. Yeah, especially if you do early ice. What is early ice? Less than 4 inches. Don't go on it anyway. I certainly won't. It's probably at 4 inches, pretty good to walk on. But remember, underneath the ice, it's all, and you might hit a warm spot and fall through the ice. If you have a floating outfit, it'll keep you up. Okay. You need safety things on the ice. And one thing you do need, these. These are called ice picks. And you need them around your neck like this, on you all the time. If you fall in the ice, these things, and if you look here, just looks like it's like that. But when I push down into the ice, it has a spike. So you fall into the ice, you like this, you grab these into the ice, stop you from sinking, and you can drag yourself out with these. Very important. No matter how safe you think the ice is, take them with you. You never know. Ice picks. Gotta have it. Always, always, you gotta be safe. Because if you go in that water and you're under the ice, you're done. You can't get out. There. Boots. Like I said, I went the cheap way. I just have some basically hiking boots that are waterproof. Very important. Very important. You don't want this soaking through into your socks because, like I said, once that happens, you're going home. And then you want this. Cleats. These ones are very aggressive. You can get less aggressive ones that I use to walk around when I do a walkabout in winter. I have less aggressive ones, but you can see here, these are pretty aggressive. Couple of reasons. I need the grip to pull my fish trap behind me. You want good grip. And I get it out of these. Now you can buy them now where you can, they get really fancy. You can change the bottoms and all that good stuff. You can get the high boot and all sorts of things specifically for cold weather. The basics of ice fishing and what you need to do to get on the ice to catch some fish. Yeah, it's a thing. So there is what it takes to go ice fishing. And of course, the number one thing, just be aware that if you get into trouble on the ice, you're on the ice. It is cold out. You've got temperatures to deal with. You've got ice to deal with. You fall through the ice, you're in big trouble. You got to get out of there as soon as possible and get your clothes off and somewhere warm. And a lot of the times if you walked out, that means getting yourself out of the ice, getting off the lake, getting into your truck, heating yourself up, taking your clothes off, yada, yada, yada. Be safe. That's all I'm saying. Every year we see people driving out on the ice too early and whoops, in they go into the ice. Or even walking out too early and they fall through the ice. Just be smart. And if you do it right, you will, like me, learn to love to ice fish. It's a thing. And I really, really enjoy it. So now you know about as much as I did. If you know more and you have any tips or have any advice or anything like that, in the comments. Always appreciate it. So hopefully that answers all the questions you have. It was very quick. I didn't get involved. I just wanted to show you what it takes to get out and go ice fishing. So hopefully I'll be out on the ice soon. Right now it's not looking good. I'm going to San Diego in a week, and I have a lot of stuff I have to take care of before I go there. And right now it is -1 outside without a wind chill. The wind chill, -20. There you go. I don't want to go on the ice on that. Plus, certainly when I get back from San Diego, I will be going. More than likely with some guys from work, and of course, Travis. Travis likes to ice fish. So while I was filming the video, Travis called and said, let's go check the ice, because he wants to know if he can bring his four-wheeler out. So we walked out there on Cedar here. We walked out, just chatting to those guys. There you can see Travis has got a little ice checker, and we're at 7 to 8 inches, well 8 to 9 inches out here. So it feels pretty good about a four-wheeler out here. Anything less than 6, no. So we're going to walk back. It's cold. Don't really have everything on. You will be safe out there, especially anywhere in winter when there's a chance of ice, driving, walking, fishing. Whatever, just be careful. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. I'll put some links. I'll put a link to all my ice fishing videos, stuff that I've done below. You can check it out there. Thanks for watching. Always, always appreciated. And we'll see you again soon.